Alright guys, so today we will be learning LaTeX, and LaTeX is it's not really like a code, but it's a mathematical typeset, basically a fancy word for saying you can display fancy math stuff online. But it's a pretty easy language to learn, so that is why we are doing it now. So first, let's go with the basics. To write anything, you put two dollar signs around it. For example, if you want to write the number 5, you put two dollar signs around it, then you click render as image, and there's the number 5, which looks extremely fancy because that's how it is. So you might be wondering, how did I get to this magical page? Well, first you type in artofproblemsolving.com, also known as AOPS.com. You get this website. Now, this stuff doesn't really matter too much, but just remember, you go to resources, you see this, now you click on LaTeX texture, and that's how you access this. And it gives you this whole long list of instructions, but don't worry, I'll explain all of this. So, as I said before, you have everything to you want to render it. So, you might be wondering, okay, so you can make numbers fancy. What else? Well, you can make letters fancy. See? Now render as image, ABC. Now the reason they're so fancy is because usually when you write variables in math, they look fancy. Okay? That's cool. But what else can it do? Well, you know how when you normally type, it looks like this when you that's the normal typing symbol for an exponent. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. But LaTeX, look, watch this magic. It magically, well, not really magically, it's science. It puts the 2 on top of the 8. Okay? So to make it do that, remember, you need to put the dollar sign, you put an A, you put this caret, which is just shift and you click 6 or press 6, and then you put 2 here. Boom. Alright, there's the A squared. Now, that's the A squared. What else can it do? Well, you might know addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So the way you do addition is just you do the plain old addition sign on the computer. 8, or let's do 1 plus 2. Now we can render this as an image. And there we go, 1 plus 2. I mean, it looks about the same, but it's a little bigger. So, and to do equals, you just press equals and the number equals 2. 1 plus 3. Just kidding. It's equal to 3. Alright, 1 plus 2 equals to 3. Now, what about subtraction? Well, you just do the subtraction. So 3 minus 2 equals to 1. Remember the two dollar signs. Don't forget, you have to have one here and one here. So 3 minus 2 is equal to 1. And then you put the dollar sign at the end, you click render as image, and it has this. Okay, that's cool. Now, what about multiplication? Well, there are actually 3 ways you can do this. So the first way, dollar sign 3, and then you click shift 8, which makes this asterisk times 2 equals to 6. Now you render this as an image and it becomes like that. Now you may be saying, well, that doesn't look very much like a multiplication sign, and you're right. But there's also another neat thing. This is kind of advanced that you can make look like a multiplication sign. So 3, now you do this. This is not this. This is forward slash, this is backward slash. So you have to do the backward slash TIMES times 3 equals to 6. Don't forget that end dollar sign. And it renders as, that's embarrassing. 3 times 2 is 6. Alright. I was totally joking there. cut that out. Okay. 3 times 2 is 6. So that's the times. Now it looks like a real one. Now another thing, sometimes you will see a dot that's times. So you do C. So it's the same thing, except now instead of this or slash times, you do slash. Remember the backward slash, not this, this. It's located above the enter key. C, dot, C dot. Now it's kind of weird. And then it turns into 3.2 is 6. Now, you might be wondering what division is, but before we get into that, usually you don't see the division sign that often, so I won't explain it, but you will see fractions, or you will also just see 4 and then forward slash, not this as in slash times, but this, you will see 4 divided by 2 and then equals to 2. Sometimes you will see this, and then it's just this. But sometimes they might write it as a fraction. If you don't know what a fraction is, that's okay. But basically, it's just another way of writing division. So first, you do this dollar sign. Remember the dollar sign. Then you do the backward slash, not this, but this. And then you do slash frac, frac. Then you do this weird squiggly thing. Now, the thing you want on the top of the fraction, it's 1. Then you have to put a squiggly thing there. Now, you put another squiggly thing, and you put 2. And then, boom, there it is. And remember to put the end dollar sign, and look at that. Beautiful. One of. Now, after we did the fraction, okay, what else can I do? Well, now that we're done with like the basic operations, here are some neat things you can do. So if you know what a square root is, it's okay if you don't, but basically it's like the reverse of an exponent. If you don't know what an exponent is, that's okay. But it's dollar sign, then slash, backward slash, SQRT, SQRT, SQRT. So dollar sign, backslash, SQRT. Now you do this weird squiggly thing again. Then you do 4. Or you can do anything. You can do this. You can do this. It really does not matter what you put in there as long as you put it inside of the 2 squiggly things. And it creates this neat thing with this. If you wanted to make this more practical, you can do something like this. Okay. Now, here's another cool thing you can do. So if you put 2 dollar signs, can you do something like inside 2 dollar signs? Cut that out. That was it. Why doesn't it work? It's supposed to be spaced out. That's BS. Okay. Okay, well, alright, continue. So here's another thing it can do. So let's review what we've done so far. So we've learned that if you put a dollar sign and something inside of it in a dollar sign, types it fancily. Now we know that addition and subtraction are the same as in plain text. For example, 4 plus 1 is 5, and then that's going to be, yep. And subtraction, 4 minus 1 is 3. It's also the same. Now, we know that there are 3 ways to do multiplication that you might see it. Here's one way with the asterisk. Another way is slash times. And a third way is slash C dot. Okay, now you might be asking, so isn't this supposed to be something about the basics of code? So then why are you doing this weird math thing that makes things look fancy? Well, that's because this is kind of like a pre-coding thing. So how there's first grade and then there's kindergarten and pre-K, right? So those things prepare you for first grade. It's kind of like this. This prepares you for coding. So if you learn this, then you will have like some idea of how code works. You won't know how what a specific language is, but you'll know like how a computer works, what you need to tell it to do, how to like be really careful. For example, if this were like real code, for example, Python, and there was an error in your code, you would have to find it. But here's if you this helps you find errors. For example, if you do something complicated like this, and you just like something crazy, and so look, I made an error, and then you just right, and yeah, you just do something like huge like this, and it's really easy to make a mistake. So let me just finish typing this. And look, there's an error. Why? Well, where is the error? Let's see. First, check. Okay, there are two dollar signs. Now, a really easy thing to mess up is these squiggly things. You have to remember, even if you have one squiggly thing, if you have something like slash square root, you need to put the squiggly things for the square roots and for the fraction that it's in. And look, I made a mistake here. So we have to put one here because it's part of the fraction. So now we render as image. And woohoo, it's correct. And very complicated, I know. So you might be wondering, well, what about variables? Well, as I explained, it makes variables.
So today I'll be talking about JavaScript variables. So first off, I'll talk about how to type a variable. So in able to create a variable, you first type var, which is var, which stands for variable. After that, you want to type the name of your variable. So in this case, I could just say name. Then you want to type an equal sign, which is a set, which means set. So you want to set this name into anything, and this can be set into many different things. For now, I'll set it for like a number for like 1. So there are many different types of variables, such as a boolean, which is a true or false statement. So a boolean can be set to true, or it can be set to false. Next one is a value. Number value specifically, you can set this to any number you want. You can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or even like this big number. Yeah, you can set it for any number. And the last one is a string. Well, not the last one, but the almost last one is a string. A string is like a long text or you can put anything in it that you want to show data in it. So with these, you can display these by using console.log and use it to display these, and you can type in these values. So if I type in boolean, and you always need to remember that you need to save it. So when you run it, it can display what you run. When you run the program, it will show it is false. If I type value, if I run it, it should display 6, and you need to save it, and you see the display 66. Oh, yeah, it needs to display 66. And the last one is a string, and this should display text. save, and text. So these types of variables are also different types instead of typing var, and one of them is constant, which is CONST, which stands for constant. This you can set for any value. Let's say number again, equals or set into like any number. And this number, when you use this variable across different areas, it will always stay the same and you cannot change it. While these you can you can change it when you want to. Here's the last type is let. The other type is let, which allows you to like it lets you set a variable so you can change it later on really easily. So this let the changeable number, we can set this to like 1, and then later on you can change this to a different number like 2, 3 by retyping this and let changeable number let equals 3, and then when you display it, it should display 3. And lastly, the last type of variable is an object. So you type, I'm gonna say let here because let is good with objects. You can say let, let's name it, let's name an object apple equal sign, and you type the parenthesis symbol. So this is basically your object and what's in it. And then to type a value, let's say the apple, let's say the color. We can type the color of the apple, say red, green, or any color. So this is the color. So if you want to add another value, you have to add a comma, press enter, and then you can type the other value. Let's say size. Let's say large, small, medium. Let's say medium sized. And make sure these are strings because you're displaying text and not values. And lastly, you can say sweetness, and we can say very sweet. So, able to display an object, you can type console.log parentheses. This is how you display an object. This is how you display anything you want to say in the console. So I'll type the object's name, Apple, and I'll type one with the attributes, whichever one you want. So let's say the size, and to do the dot size, and then you need to save it. And then when you do it, when it shows you, oh, let me go.